Stressful.
Okay. Will you just share your presentation with me?
Yep.
And I'll attach that.
Mhm.
And maybe we can do just a quick recap at the end.
Yeah.
Where was I? Oh, so Patron did reach out with very specific concerns. And what I wanted to make sure businesses heard is that we know this is an impact to everyone, obviously, but if there are specific concerns that you're having, if you can reach out and let us know, we can target more of the social and more of the things that we're doing to support you. And we can help you craft messages if social media is not necessarily something that you're comfortable with or good with, because we do get really good traction with what we share. Now, as I mentioned earlier, our social media average age is upper 30s, lower 40s, and it's predominantly women. So that's part of why we're going to branch out and do some different things from Brandy's idea. But again, we reshare Bolton and Minks and the cities, and then we do obviously our own live stuff as well. Red Bench, Orange Ball, different color, is also working on a video series in which they businesses could opt into this. And I think we ended up with 8 businesses, and they are scheduling. They'll schedule with the businesses to come in and do a short snippet where the business gets to introduce themselves and highlight what they do. And that will probably be done, my guess is July, so that we've got that out there as well. So what Brandy had reached out with was an idea to, and Brandy, you might know the correct term because as we mentioned earlier, I'm old, but I would call them like a social media influencer. She gave me a couple names and I talked to a couple of them, and we may use more than one, but initially to kind of get a feel for it, we're going to use, her name is Liz Ann. It's Liz Ann Lately. And I met with her this week, and we're going to do 3 different series with her. One at the end of June, and then another in July and August. So to kind of keep the momentum, because she says she typically spikes and then it'll cool down for 2 weeks and then she'll pick up a few other spikes. And she's going to do a couple of things. She's going to highlight us on her social media. And again, this is where that business specific thing comes in. She's going to talk a lot just about downtown and the fact that like it's a day trip to come down here, you can spend the day, there's all kinds of different things to do, but we can highlight certain businesses as well if that helps support them. Then she's going to take over our social for a day and do some fun stuff there, because she's obviously way more entertaining than me, and she's just really good at this stuff. And then she'll do just some specific posts tied to both of our socials. The other thing that we did, and I need to follow back up because I had not heard back, but we reached out to, and Brandy, you're gonna have to remind me her name, one of the news stations.
Kelly at Twin Cities Live.
Yes. Which actually was playing yesterday when I got my colonoscopy. It's like it's meant to be. So I've got to follow up with her because I had not heard back, which I didn't expect off of one email to get a response back. But she has done obviously highlights before of towns, and maybe you all are a much more impressive email than me. So throw a little weight there, Matt.
Well, I just started wondering I'm assuming she's connected with Steve.
Yes. That's what I was wondering.
He's not there anymore though,
Oh, that's
No,
true.
but he's my neighbor.
Yeah,
I mean, I could.
he still knows.
I mean, I could talk to him and say, hey, if you'll have to give me your name and everything, so I make sure I get it right. But we talk quite a bit, so I mean, I could talk to him and say, hey, is there a better way than another, or could you make an introduction for us or something like that?
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead, Brandy.
They were co-hosts, obviously, and Kelly's been out to Chaska a few times, so she's done a couple features for us. I would say she's actually more responsive over social media. So if you message her on Instagram, that might get you a faster response.
Yeah, try that, and then if you have any trouble, I can go talk to Steve this weekend. So.
But I think I liked what Liz Ann suggested about really thinking about Chaska as a day trip. Not only for the people who live here, that there's plenty to do and and just stay downtown as kind of a staycation idea, but then for other people to come in. I think a lot of times you think of, Stillwater or something like that, but we have just as much, for them to come down and do in a day. So I think that's the angle that I would take with anyone, is to kind of highlight the fact that you can play, eat, shop, all of that stuff that we've used before from a social perspective.
And that's kind of her niche anyways, that she does a lot around like day trips and things like that anyways.
All right, so that is general marketing, social marketing. What am I missing? Let me pull up my email just to make sure.
While you're doing that, Jen,
Yeah.
I heard someone mention that Steve is their neighbor. Steve also has an incredible social media following. Is he someone we can talk to?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
He's a super great guy. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
he is.
somebody that's very supportive of the community too. So yeah, I could talk to him, and I mean, if there's, I don't know if Jen, if you and me wanted to talk to him, or I could just sort of set the table and then maybe we could find a time to talk to him, but I'm pretty sure he would do something.
Yeah, I think.
He's willing to participate in somehow in our orange ball video, to introduce it or something.
Oh,
I think because what I'm learning is like, we have we have a lot of followers. And then as businesses share stuff out, like we engage their followers, but I think a lot of our viewership is very targeted, and I want everyone to see it. And that's going all these different angles, I think will help us with that piece. Let me,
Speaking of celebrities, what about like Dave Schwartz? I mean, it's because to get a couple celebrities in like some of these videos helping to promote Chaska might not be a bad thing, because leverage that, because people are like, oh, I see Dave in something, or I see Steve or whatever, right?
I'm sure Dave would do it too.
Yeah.
He's very receptive to it. So
Yeah, I mean, we have a couple living in town, so
yeah.
I mean, if they'd be willing to.
it would be kind of fun maybe to like just have them getting a coffee at Red Bench and then walking down to Carver Junk, kind of like what we're doing with the mayor.
Yep.
But
Cooler than the mayor.
yeah.
We could have Steve ride with the mayor.
Oh, that was
It doesn't-
Yeah.
it doesn't-
There we go.
It doesn't need to be a business. It doesn't
What if
need
you
to-
had one episode where he's riding with Steve and one episode he's riding with Dave?
Yeah.
I
He knows Dave.
I know both those guys would really enjoy it, especially if they're driving in the truck and stuff like that. So I think that's a great idea. And it just gives some, I mean, it's something honestly that why stop after construction? I mean, if there are people who want to promote the downtown and people know them, that might be sort of a cool thing to continue into following summers too.
I like the idea of the staycation thing, you start local.
Yep.
And build it within the residents, because it gives them, you mentioned all these homes that are popping up. It'll give them an idea of what's available to them to plan a weekend when they are not running to Little Johnny or Little Susie's baseball game, like we're doing all the time. But we can't forget that, just in talking, when she was mentioning the map, the specific need map that, you can generate, we should also reach out to the worship areas and stuff and offer that map for their events. So people can get through, because when a community has a strong, it doesn't matter what the worship is, but when they have a strong worship congregation, there's people driven here. So in the sense of the staycation and these walkabouts are all these things, to also mention what is there, 4 or 5 churches in downtown
Yep.
Chaska alone, they really need to be serviced in a way and promoted along with and equal to the businesses, because there's pools of people that go there. So that should somehow tie in. So when people are done with whatever they're doing on Sunday morning, that they're like, oh, this is open today. We haven't been there. Let's go walk over to this place and, take a look. Or if it's a Saturday evening or something like that. So.
I think that's a good idea. I mean, like Sunday mornings, we make a habit after church, we go to Red Bench. I mean, that's just something we do every Sunday.
Along with that, I was wondering if the
Just have it.
communications, kind of like in a similar setting as this, are happening with the school district. I mean, I assume they are, but that's another, I was thinking in terms of videos and influencers and who we can get in those videos was just local teachers or coaches or things like that. And that might be a tier 3 kind of category or whatever, but it's the students and the parents that have those connections to them. And if they see them in a video like this, supporting whether it's an event or the businesses or just downtown in general, I think that is really powerful. We've found that with some of our events, if there's school groups or the student bands or choirs or whatever in those, the draw is bigger, and same with the social media reach. So that might be something to think about too, is how can the school district kind of be people from the school district.
Especially as the end of summer ramps up, because a lot of people are gonna be, there's gonna be a group of people that are just kind of dismissed. They're gonna dismiss themselves from all of this through the next few months because they're cabiners. And then as they come back from the cabin in the fall, they're like, "Oh, what's going on now?" So to get them re-engaged. And so it's not shock, "Oh, I thought this was closed," or, what can we do now? So they just might, check it off their mental needs list, and it's like, no, we're not doing so.
The message we need to reinforce throughout all of that is that downtown is open.
Right, exactly.
And because I think that there's the detours, closure signs, all these things just kind of hint at subconsciously closed, right? But I think we really need to push the idea that we're open for business, and just front and center, we're open for business. And then when the bridge opens, not just we're open for business, the bridge is back open. And really, like, as Jen mentioned, it's like, it's something that's really, really important to emphasize that, because it's easy for people to forget about that. Because they see the construction signs and it's just kind of disappears back there too. Yeah. I think Brandy mentioned that too as well. So it's, just to reinforce that.
Going back to, like I said, 46 on 41's been successful. You're thinking about maybe even continuing it later. Has there been any discussion as next spring happens and construction is done, celebrating and doing like a news story with WCCO or any of those guys that come out and talk about, okay, downtown Chaska, this Minnesota city just redid all of this, and it's a great place to come downtown.
I mean, we've talked about like a party.
Yeah, some sort of celebration.
And like, maybe that's what we tie it into, like,
Kind of like what you did
Yeah.
when we were on
Yes.
Second Street.
that's what we're talking about, something like that.
That was very successful.
Yeah. Yeah, with a lot of people. And I like that piece too, because part of engaging these other people is for them to put it out on their social. And then it's not just us and them, it's them targeting all the people that follow them. And I like the high school or the school aspect, especially, you're right, as we gear back into school season. And the churches.
I just thought of an idea that's like Michaela's fake chalk allergy just like inspired me here. So one of the thoughts was that, why not a chalk art contest, right? And the cool thing is that if you could do it a couple different ways. You could do it where you either do it in downtown, or you could say, do chalk art of your favorite Chaska business or favorite Chaska location and post it to social media, right? Because then it gets people thinking about it and talking about it, right?
Or you
Tired
can
of it,
do,
chalk.
or what if you
Tired
do
of
like a chalk contest where you have them try to draw the downtown Chaska logo. And they can do it on their driveway or whatever, and it promotes the logo and it's got the historic feel to it. And then at least it gives them something to kind of use as a template.
Or a few different categories, right?
I think this
Logo
can
or
all
business, right?
somehow tie in together.
Yeah, if you can
think
get them to tag the downtown business social media, that will create additional followers there too, and kind of help grow that.
Well, and I think like now that I've got the park, because in addition to the games, I bought a bunch of chalk, but I wasn't exactly sure.
Now we know what to do with it.
I wasn't sure which location made sense, because obviously we're a little short on sidewalks and streets right now. But we've got the park, which I think then lends itself to a really great place. Plus it's center and they can watch the dirt.
That kind of going with that, one thing that we found in our line of work with recreation is when we do kind of those on your own challenges, do it on your own, post on social media. They go really well if there's a bigger theme or event that is surrounding it. Otherwise, it's hard to get people to really do it and buy into it. You'll get your strong followers doing it, but the goal is to kind of get new people. So one idea was if, you know, for Fire and Ice, we can talk about this, but just an idea was for Fire and Ice, if you guys are sponsoring in some way, it's like you guys could do a chalk contest at City Square. I don't know, I just should probably ask you first, but City Square Park. And then
It's happening.
yeah, and
I'll
then
draw it. I'll
it's
draw
the
it too.
Fire and Ice logo and the downtown business logo that they try to draw. And of course they can draw whatever else they want, but doing some sort of contest around that almost, or a
Yeah.
activity around that.
I do agree with you that when it's tied to something, like we always get excellent participation with the coloring contest for Hometown Holiday because it's tied to that and they get to light something. And yeah, and we had decent participation. The first newsletter we did was a coloring contest. And I think we had 30 kids submit, but normally, you know, it's double that for Hometown Holiday. So I do think, yeah, if we can tie this to something, that would be great.
Like get up in front of crowds and like starting stuff. Cause you could have a contest and they could like start up the bands on Fire and Ice. They could be the ones
Oh,
that like
yeah.
go up and introduce them or something.
That'd be pretty cool.
Cute.
Yeah, so have it, not an adult, obviously, have a kid, you know, have kids do it and then,
Yeah, I don't mind one.
but yeah, I mean, to have kids get up there and do sort of announcing, it might be sort of fun for them to get up in front. I don't know, it just, you know, another reason that people would want to come down to the event to see their kid, or maybe it's a few kids or something, but.
You can even tie it to something kind of with like, oh, sorry, Brandy, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say that brings up an idea for me. Have we tied in any at all with Chaska Cubs? Like my kid loved throwing out the first pitch at the game, right? Can we do something like that, tie it into a contest, bring people down for that, get them into downtown?
Well, they have so many games that,
Yeah.
and they're always willing to do some kind of promotion with each game. So I
Yeah,
mean, it give you multiple opportunities to bring people downtown for something that, and maybe maybe it's just small little things, but you know, like you said, the prize is you get to throw out the first pitch or something like that. I mean, that I think you'd mentioned like anything you tie to having your kids do something, the parents
Mhm.
follow.
Another one that would be like relatively low cost would be doing like a kids mayor for the day kind of thing, right? So, you know, kind of, it's really just symbolic, right? But it's just kind of a fun thing. It gets to come to City Hall, hang out with the mayor for a little bit sort of thing. And, you know, just.
I thought there was a joke behind that, but.
One quick question back to the sidewalk. What's the timing of sidewalks being done versus the roadways being done? Which comes first?
Kind of in sections, kind of block by block.
Okay.
If we vacate a block, we don't really want to come back. But there's going to be finishing stuff pretty much the whole time, pretty consistently. There's a lot of different operations that overlap, and it's hard to kind of synchronize all of that. I mean, we can set goals and talk about specific areas, but I don't know enough to really answer that question accurately.
Okay. Well, let me get to where I was going with that is, can we celebrate then as each block's sidewalk opens and invite the community to come down and decorate the new sidewalk with sidewalk chalk kind of thing to get as soon as that opens, like looking forward, I know that's a little bit further down the road, but how can we celebrate those little milestones in addition to the stages?
Yeah, that's an awesome idea.
So maybe individual block parties.
Yeah, I mean, it could be just sort of.
Just those businesses are targeted to try to help promote and do whatever. And when their area is done, they're little mini block parties.
Yeah, you bring those games there. Yeah.
Bring
Kind of
chalk.
cool.
Bring the chalk.
All Jen's chalk.
It's kind of cool because it brings a spotlight to those few businesses
Right.
a little bit more.
Right, and it's more one-on-one and it's more focused. So a thought that I had, you know, with all this dirt flying around, can there somehow, this is just the brainstorm and that's where my brain stops, but I think we need to have a giant sandbox with trucks for little kids to play with. Somehow, if that is something that can happen, because I know when my boys were little, if they saw that many trucks, that's where they would be for hours. And kids need to know, you know, that this is cool kind of stuff happening in their world. You know, the parents need to know, I should say it that way, that for a little kid to see all this dirt being ripped up and stuff, this is like, whoa, some kids just totally get into this. I was gonna use the word dig this, but that, little too punny, okay, yeah.
The town I grew up in tied that to a coin finding thing where the coins were in the sand and then the kids had to dig them up.
Large enough they can't choke, please.
Oh, yeah, that's it. No, that's
Coin, like big
That was
Allen.
maybe dollar bills. No.
Hey, it's another medallion
Yeah,
house.
yeah.
Just for inflation.
Yeah. It was a penny when I was.
Not food. Or it can, if it's something tied to an event and they find one, then they can redeem it for
Yeah,
like ice cream or who knows, whatever it is, so.
that might actually be an idea redeem at, business, or it could be like our ice cream at the concession stand
Yeah.
or something like
All
that.
kid related,
Yeah.
yeah, the concession stand down at the park,
Mhm.
yeah.
So just all of that, Jen, can you
Yeah.
make all that happen? Everything for the last 25
You
minutes.
should see her page, you guys.
Yeah.
She's going up the margins.
I think some of the cool stuff about what we're talking about though is I don't think that this is stuff that has to be restricted just to construction here. I think sometimes this can spur sort of ideas that we wouldn't have thought about before that are relatively simple, but have a big impact that goes forward.
Well, if we're talking big impact forward, I think that we need to have the world's largest Lego building contest and pretend it's Chaska brick,
Oh, there you go.
and have the city invest in a bunch of yellow Legos.
I was gonna say they have to be yellow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yellow, orange, whatever, that kind of, but then kids can participate and, they can do teams or however you want to do it. And I just think that would be kind of fun to have people, and it can be, of course, age appropriate to the size Lego, because little ones obviously can't handle those little things, but I like that idea.
Yeah, this was a good brainstorm. Remember, I've always said, like, I'm an operator, not an ideator. And so to have a big group of people throwing out ideas gives us a lot to work with, again, and not only for construction season, but things that we can continue to do. Because I do feel like we got to a point where, our events are the same. And we tried, like, we took out the reindeer and put in the llama, and we tried to do some different things, but this is different and this is good. All right, I'll pause there and see if there are any other questions or thoughts from the marketing perspective. All right, we have Vibrant Downtown as a placeholder on here in case there are any updates that you all want to share from that perspective.
Yeah, I think some things, just some city updates. There's dirt moving at the Chaska building site, so that'll be exciting to see that building go in. And in a legislative update, I wasn't at the last council meeting, so feel free to correct me. Pretty much gonna read your notes though from the biweekly.
I hope you're right.
I hope they're right too. So kind of some exciting news out of the legislative session and the bonding bill. So there was, we received 5.4 million for our City Square West for that'll be a portion of that project. So that was exciting to see that come through. It wasn't the overall amount we asked for, but it was, it's still helpful. So
When they don't like to fund projects that don't get finished. And so not literally as we speak, but this week, Elise has been working on the MMB application for next year's bonding bill. And which I think is due next Friday. And that will be asking for the remaining amount. And that's sort of how they sort of suggested that we approach it, is get your foot in the door and then go and ask for the rest after that. So we are going to, we're trying to go through sort of figuring out exactly how to move forward and show that we've made progress without, taking too big a leap forward. So we're working on sort of doing that to show progress, but that's sort of the strategy that we have for that.
that was certainly exciting. This isn't downtown necessarily, but I do think anything like this is helpful. So there was also a funding request for 82nd Street, and they did get that full 10 million they'd requested to upgrade that road. So what's nice about that is anytime you're pulling people off of 5 and even getting, a little bit further south, that's getting people closer to downtown. So that's still exciting as well. It gets people moving from Victoria across Chaska, across Chanhassen a little bit easier. So that was nice to hear as well. And then another update in our 2021 strategic planning retreat. So I kind of explained last time what those look like. Council had identified kind of a direction of having more really driving community engagement. So that created a position for community engagement. That was in the 2023 budget. And they put together that job description. And so am I allowed to share the next part?
Up to Kevin.
So Kevin is going to be taking that role of driving community engagement, which is pretty much what he does already. So that makes sense. So then we will fill his communications role, but that's very exciting. So probably
Thank you.
more Kevin time for all of us. And
To me, the positive is that Kevin's still going to be in charge of communications, but he's going to have more support to do that. And then we can free up his time to do what I think he does the absolute best, is going out and just connecting with people. So
that was
Luckily, you might see a better face on our Facebook Live video.
yeah.
That's the real takeaway on it.
That's yours, though.
Yeah.
so that was exciting as well. And I think that's all I had.
I add, so on Monday night, and I will get you a copy of this as well, so you can share it. The EDA, which is the council just acting in a different way, went through and revamped their program guidelines for what was originally called the storefront.
This is an important one too.
The storefront improvement loan. So I think we've shared with the group in the past that over the course of the past year, we've looked at, because of the shift of parking off of 41 to the new parking lots in Paseos, looking at how we can help businesses, enhance their rear entrances. And so our previous guidelines, I should say, didn't originally address being able to look at the kind of the rear entrances of the building. So what we did, and plus just in general, the loan program hadn't been updated for a number of years. So we went through and revamped it. We're now calling it the Downtown Building Improvement Program, really focusing on the exterior and permanent improvements in the buildings on the exterior. So as with that too, we've increased the amount of the loan available for that and made some different, what I think is exciting loan terms, that a portion of the loan is eligible to be forgiven as well, which was not something we had in the past. It was truly just a low interest loan. So we've revamped the program. This is the first, you are the first group to hear about this, and we'll get more information out. But if people are interested in the program, to reach out.
This is great. And you said digital.
I'll email the digital copy to you.
Yeah, and the way that the grant portion of it would work is, basically typically we have 10-year terms for the low interest loan, that we would forgive that 50% of it, 50% of that loan over a 10-year period. So every year of that 10-year period, you'd sort of get to retain that proportion of those dollars and not have to pay it back.
And so the district boundaries, are those based on the SSD then?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I know we've talked about this a lot and we have not made a move, but we've talked about stretching to bring Shram and Cuzzies into it if they wanted to. Would that?
We could certainly go back and adjust it. The idea has always been that it covers kind of where the SSD is.
Okay. That makes sense.
And since we're talking about like other just general stuff, also, and the rest of Chaska, so everyone doesn't also feel really left out of missing out on construction in downtown Chaska. There's also construction that's starting in PV Road starting in June 19th. So that PV Road intersection is being closed as they build a roundabout there. And then from between around where Hazeltine Boulevard is all the way up to 82nd Street. That's going to be off and on closures for the rest of the summer, starting in about mid-July for the resurfacing of 41. So lots of construction. So it's not just here in downtown, but in north side of Chaska too. So just want to, share that.
I mean, that's why I come downtown, because it's walkable down here. All right, any other updates? All right, Zoomers, anything any questions, anything that you didn't get out during this process? Otherwise, I'm gonna have Nicole share her screen real quick, and we're gonna roll through her update just so it's on the recording so I can share it out. So you are welcome to stay and hear it again because it is exciting. And we are up again July 14th.
Run through this again. So just to provide a schedule update, as you all know, stage 3 is underway, which includes the full closure of 41 between the River Bridge. They are anticipating to be paving the 4161 intersection and the area near the River Bridge in mid-June, following some landscaping efforts for pavers and some, not the plantings yet, but more of the hardscape elements. In addition, the 4th Street crossing will be closed beginning the week of June 19th. And when that closes down, 2nd and 3rd Street will act as the primary cross lanes over 41. And stage 3 is set to conclude in late June. Once stage 3 is done, stage 4 will begin in early July, which includes opening the River Bridge as well as the 4161 intersection. When this reopens, there will be one lane of traffic in each direction on 61, and there will be stop signs or flashing red lights at the 4161 intersection, depending on the progression of the signal at that point. And there will also be stop signs at the Walnut and 61 intersection, similar to how it is today. And this segment between 61 and 1st Street will be closed until fall. Quick update on the sheet piling. Over the last month, our engineers and the contractor have been conducting additional soil investigation in the east side of the sheet piling area. And as you may have noticed, the crane has been removed from the site as they continue to analyze the soils and looking for alternate equipment that could be used to install those sheets with minimal vibratory, conditions. Quick update on parking. Since our last meeting, we have been gathering feedback from the businesses and continuing to monitor the no parking areas along Walnut, Pine, and 4th. And we opened some parking on one side of Pine and Walnut south of 4th in about mid-May. And we also opened parking on the east side of Pine Street, north of 4th Street in early June. So thank you everyone for your comments and your patience as we work through this process. I think we're at a good spot today with what we're observing with our traffic patterns. In addition, when we begin stage 4, which you can see on the map here, we will be returning to that full no parking scenario, as you can see, where there's no parking along Pine or Walnut, as well as 4th and 1st. The week prior to these changes, we're going to be working with Patrol to begin an awareness campaign with informational flyers that people can place on, or I guess that the Patrol can place on cars if there are people parking in those areas, just to let them know, hey, changes are coming in the next week, and just make them aware before these changes begin. And similar to the last phase, we will be monitoring the traffic patterns and making revisions as needed. Though we learned a lot this first full closure with the parking, and we anticipate being able to react more quickly this time around, likely within the first 1 to 2 weeks. Just to reiterate some promotion and business support items, just want to put another reminder out there that all the businesses are welcome to contact Elise for an individual sandwich board. There is a grant program that is in place for that, so be sure to reach out to her if you haven't secured yours yet. I am also available to help create business specific maps that will highlight where your business is along with the access routes to get there. We've had about 6 people request to date, and I'm open to creating as many as I need. So be sure to reach out if you have not gotten your own business specific map. In addition, we're also continuing to promote on Facebook. We have over 1,300 followers. We've been promoting some MIDI marketing videos and been posting videos and photos of the progress of the work. And as always, we'll be continuing to promote any traffic changes just so the public is aware if this is how they choose to engage. We also continued our weekly update through our email system. We have over 3,000 subscribers. With last month, we had 5 emails that went out, and we had a 55% open rate, which means these are people who clicked on and read the email, which is a very high interaction rate compared to what we typically see in other projects. So we think this has been very effective. I know, Jen, you had said the Herald, you've also been coordinating for those mailers, which go out to how many people, you said?
The Herald is 6,000.
Yeah, so we're continuing to make sure we're reaching multiple platforms in case people aren't updated on the email. In addition, we are continuing our in-person engagement. Greg has been meeting with businesses one-on-one if there are, water shutdowns or other needs. And also if there's just general concerns or comments, he's been there to help address those right away. So if you have something that comes out, feel free to reach out to him or the hotline in general, and we can get someone there to talk through your concerns quickly. And finally, we have been continuing to coordinate with the city on events to make sure people are aware that downtown is open and that they can come and participate. And we were making the contractor aware of those key events so that they can make sure the traffic control is in place and things are buttoned up so that when people come downtown, it's as seamless as possible. So we continue to work with them on that. If there's any events that aren't on the city's calendar, I know we also have the chamber events flagged, just let us know and we can add that to our list and make the contractor aware. So just to recap, Stage 4 will begin in early July, and that's what's shown on the map here. There will be a lane in each direction on 61, and stop signs are flashing red lights at the 4161 intersection. There will be stop signs at the Walnut and 61 intersection as well, and it will be closed into the fall. And just to reiterate, based on our conversation today, the bridge will be open and the 41 and 61 intersection will be open. So that's very exciting news. And we're going to be ramping up our communication over the next few weeks just to get people excited and aware that this is coming. And it's very positive news. That's your update.
Awesome. Appreciate you doing that. Solving from my mistake. All right, so we are going to wrap up. Kristen, thank you for joining us again, and have a lovely weekend.
Thank you.